Hi guys, thank you guys so much for being here today. Happy Thanksgiving to many of you guys who are watching from home today. And I hope you have a wonderful, food-filled, family-filled weekend ahead of you guys. Now, from Vancouver, Canada, where I'm at right now, it has started raining. It's probably gonna rain for the next 7 or 8 months, but let me tell you about last weekend where it was sunny and it was warm and it was beautiful and I was on an island with a whole bunch of knitting friends. Let me tell you about that today. Oh, and this sweater. Hi guys, thank you guys so much for being here. My name is Felicia from SweetGeorgia, and I want to tell you about the retreat that I went on last weekend. Now, this retreat is maybe a little bit different than the other retreats that I've been on. This one was specifically an industry retreat. And so it was organized by the girls who organized Knit City here in Vancouver, Amanda and Fiona from Knit Social. And they had the idea to create an industry retreat because, you know, all of us who are vending and exhibiting and hosting booths and sponsoring, all of these people that I know in the community who make things and design knitwear and dye yarn and all these kinds of things, we never really get a chance to talk to each other besides the, 2 minutes between setting up and then going to grab lunch or, we're really strapped for time. And so in those amazing events, we often don't have a great time getting to sit down and have conversations with each other. And so Amanda and Fiona thought that it would be a great idea to host an industry retreat where many of us could actually get together in the same place at the same time in a very relaxed way to be able to have conversations with each other, talk about our businesses, talk about how things are going, if we're going through the same kinds of challenges, what we've done here, what we've done, just basically to work together, help each other, and even potentially find collaborations from within this group. So I was very, very excited to be on this industry retreat. There was, about 20 of us all together. So like Alexa from Tin Can Knits was there. Diane from Suburban Stitcher was there. Tracy from the Groceries Girls was there. Jody was supposed to be there, but she got very, very, very ill just before the trip, so she wasn't able to make it. There were lots of designers there. So Andrea Rangel was there and Amanda Kafka was there. I'm trying to remember off the top of my head everybody, but there was lots of designers. Oh, Holly Yo was there as well. And a whole bunch of dyers as well. So Carolyn from Ancient Arts was there, Kim from Ginger Snap, Robin from Rose Hill Yarns, and Hanalei from, it's not a hand-dyed company, but it's a yarn company from Hinterland. So it's Hanalei from Hinterland. She was there as well. So a whole bunch of people and a bunch of yarn shop owners, and it was just a really, really cool mix of people. People who had come in from out of town, some people from the prairies, Diane who had come in from Texas, and then a couple of people who live in around Vancouver Island and everything. So we took a ferry boat to get to Galiano Island, which is actually not that far away. It was actually very accessible by car, by ferry. It was a quick trip to get there. And then once you're on the island, the place where we were staying, the Galiano Inn, was literally around the corner from the ferry terminal. So everything was super, super convenient. And then once you're there, it was beautiful, relaxing, cozy. It was kind of like a lodge sort of feeling. So yeah, very cozy and warm. So we all arrived around 4:30 on Friday evening and then had some wine, did some chatting, and it was just wonderful because everybody is really easy to talk to. Everybody was really open, and so we had a late dinner, and that Friday evening, we had a bit of an icebreaker exercise. So Friday evening after dinner, we had a bit of an icebreaker exercise. And so there is a woman who lives on Galiano Island who works in specifically collaboration and conflict resolution. So she led a bit of a exploration, a bit of an exercise for us, asking us 6 very, very basic questions. And I'll post the questions here so you can see them as well. But the first question is basically, what do you love most about your life? And then the questions that followed were things like, what is most important to you? What do you value? What do you appreciate? All of these things. Like, what are you thankful for? And I don't know if this is the opinion of everyone. This is my opinion. This is my observation of what this exercise was like. But I enjoyed it. I thought it was fun because I found it interesting because all of us who are in this room, we're all in the industry together, which theoretically could mean that we're also slightly in competition with each other in some ways. There's a handful of designers, knitwear designers specifically, and there's maybe 6 or 7 hand dyers specifically. And so theoretically, we could be considered competitors and coming to sit at the same table for for the whole weekend, with people who are doing the same things as you and have the similar kind of business that you do. It could be a little bit awkward. It could be a little bit, you don't want people to feel standoffish or hostile or weird or competitive through this entire weekend. So this exercise I found was actually really interesting because when the answers started to come out about like, what am I thankful for? What do I value the most about my life? What do I love the most about my business? What do I love about my schedule? All these things, once they started to come out, everybody sort of had the same kind of answers, right? So this group of women who all own fiber arts related businesses or knitting related businesses, these people are all extremely independent, very creative, very just fiercely determined. And when it comes down to it, all of us share the same values. Like we share values around being flexible in our work, being able to have balance and have work and be really passionate about work, but at the same time also be really passionate about our families and having time to spend time with our families. And so I thought that the facilitation was really cool because at the end of the day, all these people, you realize that we're all the same, that we all want the same things, that we all treasure the same things, that we're all thankful and grateful for the same things. Our family, our friends, our time spent making things, the amazing blessing that it is that we can have a business based on something that we love to do, and the flexibility of being able to do that in and around the rest of our lives. So I thought that the opening act was pretty cool. I enjoyed it. So that was Friday night, and I think that ended almost at 11 o'clock that night. Was it 10 o'clock, 11 o'clock? It was pretty late. And people were quite tired, so everybody went home, and then the next morning, we had breakfast together, and then that was followed by a 3-hour workshop where we learned to do a little bit of weaving. So Amanda and Fiona had invited Sarah Hayden to come in and be our weaving instructor for this workshop. And so Sarah, she is very, very deeply involved in natural dyeing. So she does all natural dyed yarns, and then she produces art weavings for herself. And so she came to teach us the techniques of how to do this frame loom weaving, and everybody got to take home their own loom. It was very similar to the loom that I've used previous. Actually, it's the exact same loom that I bought last year at Knit City, and I used to make a little wall hanging. So yeah, it was very, very fun to do. So yeah, from our studio, Charlotte had prepared all these tiny little mini balls of yarn and roving, and she arranged them on platters. And so SweetGeorgia basically provided all of the yarn and the fiber to go into these little woven wall hanging projects. And yeah, it was very, very interesting to see because, Charlotte had created a couple of different palettes. We produced 3 trays, and one of the trays was mostly neutrals, beige, undyed, silver, gray. There was different textures. Some were fingering weight, some were worsted weight, some were bulky weight. So there was one very neutral platter, and then there was a little bit more colorful platter, and then a really dark platter. And then we had a whole bunch of like very, very fine kid silk mohair as well to incorporate into these weavings. And it was interesting because, passing these plates all around the room, and everybody picks completely different colors. Everybody picks completely different palettes. And so at the end of the day, everybody's piece looks totally different, even though we all picked from the same pile. It's very interesting. So this is basically the loom that we worked off of. This is the one that is available from Woven Wood Goods. You can get that on Etsy. So yeah, you have these little slots in here so that you can help warp the loom. And then you can just add whatever fiber yarn you want in here, plain weave, twill, however you want to do it. You can do whatever. And so Sarah was telling everybody that there's like only a handful of rules, but not really any rules about, how you want to do it, how you want to compose things, what order you do things in. There's a few rules, but not that many. And so it was very interesting because without constraints, without rules, we were all a bit like, oh, well, then what do we do? So that was maybe one of the most challenging things, was just to figure out how to design your piece and what colors to put in and where to put everything. This is the little piece that I produced out of it. Oh, yeah. It's so cute. It's fun. It was really, really fun to do. But basically, we started off with a couple of rows of just plain weave. And then on top of that plain weave, we made this raya knots, or this little fringe. And so you could, if you wanted to do fringe for the whole thing, but I just did fringe on the bottom, different colors, different textures. And then what I started to do was I wanted to make kind of like an ombre effect here. And so I was using the Tough Love sock that we have. It's a fingering weight yarn, and combining different colors, holding multiple strands together at the same time and weaving those in, and then beating it really quite hard because I didn't want to see any warp. I want to only see just the weft yarn that is being laid in here. So everything's packed down pretty tight. And then I put this roving mess in here, and it looked really, really good on the loom because it was all stretched out and under tension. But I found that once I took it off the loom, it kind of pushed all the warp threads apart. And so now it's kind of like, it's too textural. It's sticking out and it's kind of deforming the shape of this wall hanging. Yeah. I'm not sure. I think that if you're going to do this, you have to somehow balance it, or maybe the whole thing needs to be all like that. I think it's just I put too much in here because it doesn't really happen up here with this little sumac braid. Yeah, it doesn't happen here. I think it's just how much fiber I happen to put in there. And then I had some ideas around here about how I was going to ombre up into white, but then that never happened because, yeah. Yeah. It was really fun. And this took maybe 3, maybe 4 hours to do. Really super quick. It's something that you could do in a couple evenings. Really, really fun. So that was Saturday morning. Then after we had lunch on Saturday, lunch was amazing. All the food at this place was phenomenal. It was so good, so good. But after lunch, we took it was a 2-hour hike. So we hiked up to the bluffs. So the bluffs is a beautiful spot. It's kind of like it's on a bluff, and you can see water, you see ocean, you see mountains, you see trees. It's just like beautiful, beautiful view. So we sat there, we took some pictures there, and we had all brought our knitting. At first, when we were getting ready for the hike, Fiona's like, "Where's your knitting?" And I was like, "We're going on a hike. Why do I need my knitting?" But then, yeah, it makes sense. So we hiked all the way to the bluffs, and then we sat there for a couple minutes, to sit there, and everybody did some knitting, which was nice that I brought my knitting. Yeah. And then, Fiona had it set on a timer about when we had to go back because now, it gets dark so early. We didn't want to get caught in the dark walking back through the woods, and because it's not really marked super clearly. So we didn't want to be hiking in the dark. So she'd set a timer, and then we sat there and we were knitting for a bit, and then we had to walk back. And it was great because, we had conversations all the way up. We had conversations at the bluff. We had conversations all the way down. Like, it was just wonderful to chat and connect with all these women that I normally don't really get a chance to really talk about. So that was basically the gist of the weekend, right? Like, we spent every minute knitting, talking, and eating. That's about it. And I think that that's all I really needed. It was really, really quite wonderful. So yes, while I was on the retreat, I did, in fact, finish the sweater. Yeah. And it is way bigger than I sort of thought. You can see, I didn't realize that I was actually knitting a sweater dress. Just keeps going and going. Yeah, it looks kind of like a sweater dress. It's super long, but I think it is the perfect size and the perfect width for me. It feels really good. Maybe it didn't need to be as long as it was, maybe. It is. It's just like a giant box. This is the Worsted Boxy sweater by Joji Locatelli. I knit mine in the Mohair Silk DK. This is the strawberry tea colorway, and I love it. I love this sweater. I love it. It is actually, it fits me perfectly. It fits me perfectly. So these sleeves, I wasn't quite sure. You know, I cast on these sleeves when I was at the retreat, picking up around here. And I thought it was going to be too narrow, but the point is that it's not meant to fit my arm up here, but it's only supposed to fit my arm at the elbow area, right? So it's kind of like 3/4 length sleeves. And I love this neckline. This is really, really lovely. And yeah, and I like this little textural detail here. You know, these little welts that actually fold into each other and meld together really, really nicely. So I like this sweater. It's so simple and I could wear it over anything. Yeah, so I knit this with the 5.5 millimeter needle. So it produces quite a loose and drapey fabric, like you can see. It's quite drapey. It feels good. It feels warm though. So it feels wonderful to have gone on this wonderful relaxing retreat, to be in the sunshine, to be near the beach, to have some quiet time, to have some time to do some writing, and to have lots of time to do this knitting, to finish this sweater, to come back with a finished wall hanging. It was awesome. There is so much to be thankful for. And even though it's not Canadian Thanksgiving, it is American Thanksgiving. I love to celebrate Thanksgiving 2 times because I think that it's never too often to take the time to just be thankful and to think about all the wonderful things that are in your life and that we're so lucky to have. And yeah, one of the things that I'm super lucky to have is that you guys actually stay and watch these videos and see what I'm doing and see what we're doing at SweetGeorgia. So thank you guys so much for being here every week to watch these videos go up on every Friday. Thank you guys so much. So if you like today's episode, please do hit the like button. And if you'd like to see more videos like this every Friday, please do hit subscribe and then hit the little bell icon. And I will be back to you guys next week with more yarn stuff. Okay, I will see you guys in the next one. All right, thanks for watching. Bye.